Hello everybody, in this video I have a mixed media process to share with you with the Thompson's Craft Supplies design team. I am doing an altered piece today with this sort of wooden window frame. I have forgotten the brand, but it will be linked in the description box. And I'm still working with my sort of Versailles themed kit with the papers, the AB Studio papers, the Versailles. So I'm still sticking with that sort of royal blue and gold sort of theme. But first, of course, I need to gesso my piece. So I'm gessoing obviously the entire front and around the edges and the inner edges as well. The only part I'm not putting anything on is just the back. And then I just wanted to add a little bit of texture. Obviously, it's quite a thin surface to add stenciling or texture to. So I brought out this very delicate Tim Holtz damask lace stencil, and I'm just stenciling where I can. I'm going to add stenciling kind of all over, but in some places you can't really see the pattern very well. You just get texture. Up the top you see a little bit more of the pattern, and you can see, like, when I lift the stencil off, there's some globby bits sticking up, so I just sort of scoop those up because I don't really want them hanging off and, you know, cracking and falling off and stuff. And then when my stenciling is done and completely dry, I'm using Prima paper paste for that stenciling, which I think I do a lot of my stenciling with that paper paste. I am obsessed with it. And anyway, yes, once that is completely dry, I'm going to paint it with the Prima or Finavere liquid acrylic in the colour Ultramarine. I'm just going around the whole thing with that, and in the same places where I've gessoed, so the front, the edges and the inside edges as well. In case you're wondering why I am using that brown matte thing on top of my glass media mat, it's just that sometimes products like gesso and acrylic paint and stuff can be a bit of a pain to clean off the media mat, the glass one. Once they're completely dry, you kind of have to scrape them off, and I knew it was going to get everywhere in doing this project, so I just put, for these stages at least, that media mat, the material brownie thing that's kind of like something you'd put in the oven, just because it's easier to wash the stuff off. Anyway, with that completely dry, I just wanted to back the whole thing with a paper from the collection. So I'm just going through all the papers to try and choose which one I want to use. And I quite like that one, but everyone I was like, yeah, I can make that work. I think I can make that work. And then I put it on this one, and it was just that instant moment of, yeah, use this one. And at first I was like, oh, but it's so beautiful, like I could use it for a scrapbook layout or something. But you know, when you have that moment of, yeah, use that one, don't ignore it. And I really like the clocks in it and stuff, and yeah, I just thought it would work really nicely. So I've just put gloss gel on the back of the entire piece, placed it down on the paper, and then I left that to dry for a little while. So when it was dry, I just took a craft knife to cut around it. I thought it could be a little bit more precise with that rather than using scissors. And then it was time to just start bringing out pieces and fussy cut bits and bobs and ephemera and embellishments and start figuring out what the hell I was going to do with this piece. I had this clock, which is from the Elements paper of the Versailles paper pack, and it was just like, it was beautiful, but it just looked too big on there. Now, actually looking on screen, it doesn't look as bad, but it was just too big. So I kind of had it around, and I was playing around with it. I cut out one of these ladies from the same sheet, and I thought, she looks really nice on there, so I'm going to involve her somehow. I looked through my AB Studio Crafters bundle for fussy cut pieces or fussy cutting opportunities, and I came across this one with all these black and white sort of botanicals. I thought I could include those. Fair warning, just to be completely honest with you, they are a pain to fussy cut. They are not easy, but they do look beautiful once you've done it. The trick is just not to try and be too precise with your fussy cutting, otherwise it just gets too delicate. And then I just fussy cut a few more bits and pieces. Now, this bit of footage, I lost a big chunk of footage. I was so annoyed. So what I did, you can see there, I actually cut the clock. I cut about a third off it to be able to use it, because I just was desperate to use it in this project. It just felt right. But what you missed was I did some splatters. I think I'm going to go back and do some more, but my main thing, and I'm going to do an extra bit of it here so you can see what I was doing, is I'm adding some art stones, some small ones, and some micro beads. And the way I add those is I get a big plop of gloss gel, if you like, on my media mat. I dip my brush in, then I dip it in to the art stones or the micro beads, and then just kind of paste them on where I want them, kind of like cement and bricklaying, that same kind of motion, you could call it. And there, when I did it here, I actually did a little bit more, because I was doing it in like the corners of each window pane, but I wanted a few more on the top of the piece as well, on the surface. So that's what I'm doing here as well, just adding a few more of those. I'm using blue micro beads, but they don't have to be, because you can colour them really whatever colour you want. Then I'm drying it. When you've got big globs of gel medium, it's almost impossible to dry completely with a heat tool, but I was just getting the surface dry enough so that I could add colour to it. There you can see me adding just a few splatters in the background there. I'm using Heidi Swap Colour Shine in navy and a Dina Wakley gloss spray in the colour Night. And with the gloss spray, I was adding more blobs rather than splatters. So then I'm taking that ultramarine liquid acrylic back again and just painting over all those micro beads and art stones as well, just so it's all kind of a uniform colour, and making sure I'm getting in all awkward gaps and bits and pieces like there. You can see from the side angle there, like you have to kind of get slightly underneath them. Then I dried that. Then I am adding some wax. This is Finnaver or Prima metallic wax in the colour Old Denim, and I'm just brushing that onto certain places. It adds a lovely highlight to certain areas, and I also added little bits of it straight onto the paper, like in the corner of each pane, just to add a little bit more of a shadow effect. Especially, like, I got my clock piece and where I was going to put it down and was kind of using that to add shadows as well. And obviously I haven't really done any of like the micro beads and wax and stuff where I know the clock is going to be, because there's no point, it's going to get covered up anyway. So then I also wanted to add a bit of gold, because I just think it goes so perfectly with this paper pack. You know, it's like the opulence of Versailles, royal blue and gold, and just, it all works beautifully together. That is Cosmic Shimmer Gilding Wax in New Gold, I think. So I'm just brushing that on. It doesn't work very well on your fingertips, this stuff. And it smells, whew, it's one of those like really strong chemical smells, this one. It actually says on the thing, don't use your fingers, but I generally ignore those things, but it does actually work better with a brush. Anyway, I'm also using that to go over some of that stenciling I had done right at the beginning, because with the blue paint over it, it was kind of lost and you could only see the texture. But adding just a really thin layer of that wax really brings out the pattern of that stenciling, and think it looks really, really gorgeous. And then once that was on, I'm adding a teensy weensy bit of white wax, which adds a more old and shabby effect. I'm just sort of drying the gold first. Well, not really drying, because you don't really dry wax, but more heat setting it, I suppose you could call it. But yes, that is again a Finnaver wax. It is a matte wax in the colour Old White, and as I said, it just adds a slightly more distressed and shabby effect to the whole thing. And obviously white and blue go together really nicely, white and gold, just the three colours just worked really, really nicely together. And with that done, I'm so annoyed I lost all that footage of me doing the micro beads and stuff. But thankfully, when I realised I'd lost the footage, I looked again at the piece and thought, well, there is a big area I've actually missed and could put some more stuff on, so I'll just do that. But still annoyed that my phone camera messed up on me. It's an old phone that I don't use as a phone, so I think it's starting to give out on me. But anyway, moving on, I'm going to start putting all my fuzzy cut pieces on there as like my embellishments and stuff. So as you can see, I'm putting the clock there on the left hand side. I've got some really big fussy cut florals to put around that, and then in the bottom right corner I'm going to put that lady. I'm going to put a bunch of flowers around her as well. So you kind of got two focal points, two areas of interest. The clock is the main one, because obviously it's much bigger and it's a different colour, but then you can also move down to the girl, and I just think she just looks really, really lovely. I've kept, obviously you can see I'm going around every fussy cut piece with a decent layer of oxide in chipped sapphire, which goes perfectly with AB Studio the Versailles, by the way. It's just spot on colour, but I decided to keep them white because I tried to colour them in a previous project and they kind of looked a bit naff the way I'd done it, and I think they look really beautiful white. I think if you hadn't put the ink around the edges it wouldn't work, but just that white colour with a heavy inking around the edges, they just look really, really pretty. I went around the clock with it as well, and then I also just thought I would add some glass cabochon bead things, whatever you call them, Mine are not official craft ones. I buy the ones that are intended for fish tanks. They're the same thing, they're just way cheaper. So I just picked those up from eBay. And I added just a couple of those, just little kind of sparkly shiny elements. I also thought I had a few extra fussy cut pieces that I thought would look cute if I had some stuff on top of the clock as well, and after I'd added those I decided just to fussy cut a few more much smaller flowers, and again I'm going around the edges of those and then just popping them on in just little clusters on top. So I think it makes it look more natural rather than just having stuff all behind the clock, having stuff over the top of it as well. It just flows a bit better in general. Next up, I wanted to add my words to my piece, because a piece like this, it just, some sort of word or phrase just really finishes it off. Now I came across that old pink paisley set from C'est La Vie that's got the ooh la la in a gold mirror, and I thought at first, like, it's gold, perfect, it's French-ish, ooh la la, so that can work. But the mirror, I kept trying to make it work, and yeah, the mirror effect just was not right for that. So instead I went with Old Faithful Tim Holtz quote chips. These are from the slightly newer pack, I think it's called Theories or something, and I kind of played around. At first I was just going to have one, and then I thought it looked nice when there was one down by the girl at the bottom. But then I couldn't just have one on the girl, there needed to be something on the clock, but then there was two, and two isn't right, you need three to balance it out. So that's why I've got Be Curious, Choose to Shine, and Dwell in Possibility. Again, going around the edges with the Distress Oxide in Chip Sapphire, just to tie everything in together. I just think it works really, really well on this piece. And then I think the last thing I'm going to do is add, oh, I wanted to add just a little more gold in a couple of places, but I thought I would bring out my Nouveau embellishment mousse instead. But it's getting a bit hard, that embellishment mousse. You know, things do dry out over time, and I have had that quite a while, so I was able to reactivate it a little bit with some water and just paint a little bit more gold on here and there. And then I also just washed a little bit of the gold around the edge of the clock. I just thought that helped tie in that clock just a little bit more, because it's got the brown on the edge and there's no brown elsewhere on the project. So I'm not hiding the brown, but I'm just adding that gold sheen, which makes it match things a little bit better. And then I added just a little bit more water to the pot and just splattered on a little bit of gold as well. And then I'm going to finish with a few white splatters, and this is my new white splatter medium. My new favourite is the Dina Wakley Gloss Spray in the colour White. And that's it. And there we go, those are the last things that I do to that project. I am really proud of this one. I really, really like it. I love the colours. I mean, royal blue, gold, white, all of my favourite things. I really, really like it. So I hope you did too. Let me know if you have any questions or anything. There will be a corresponding blog post on the Thompson's Craft Supplies blog. Links, of course, in the description box. Please leave me a thumbs up and chat to me down in the comments. And that's it. I'm going to go. Thank you again. Bye-bye.